Welcome again to my channel, Sewing Made Easy. My name is Lilo Siegel and I like to show you tips and hints all about the seam sewing. Maybe you've just seen my latest video on how to make this lovely turning dragonfly sleeve, and at the end of the video I promised you that I will show you how you can finish off the lining on the armhole, because as we all know, to do a neck it's quite easy to finish off with the lining because you got lots and lots of space everywhere around to get in with the machine. On the sleeves it's slightly different, and that's why I mentioned that I will show this to you in my next video, and that's what it's all about right now. So let me show you how you can finish off the lining with the main material so that you have a real nice finished edge, as you can see right here inside your sleeve. Really tidy looking. Before you start, make sure to check the lengths from your lining and the main material, because this is the two edges you got to stitch together. It is normal that the lining is probably slightly tighter on the armhole than your main material, especially if you have a material that's like mine, a little bit stretchable. So immediately you think, oh, the main material is much bigger than the lining, but usually it is actually exactly correct with the pattern that you bought or that you made yourself. But what does that mean? It means when I do the stitching around my sleeve hole, I may want to make sure that I will be stitching on top of the lining and not on the main material, because that makes my job so much easier. So what I do, I have to go towards the lining, towards the inside, and I will start on my shoulder. Never start on the side seam, always start on the shoulder. As well here, you can check if your shoulder width is the same, because that should be the case. If the lining is a touch smaller in the width, it doesn't matter, but it shouldn't be longer, because then you're bound to have the lining rolling towards the main material outwards, and that's not good. That shouldn't happen. So you can see this was my neckline here, and I'm now even with the main material, so that's fine with me. That's just how I want it. So after I check those two things, the width of my actual armhole and the shoulder part, I now have to start to put those shoulder parts exactly in the right position to start stitching. Now of course, as you got a pair of sleeve in a way, you got a left and a right, you got to think, how do I want to put this on top of each other? So what you have to do, I show you first the wrong way for this particular side. You take your two shoulder seams and fold them towards each other. So the right side is lying on the right side. So if I'm holding this together now and turn it as if I want to start sewing here, I would see I would be stitching on top of my main material. And I just told you that's what I don't want to do. But on the other side, if I would have folded it that way, it would have been correct. So if you starting on whichever side, you might find this that you think, oh, that's not the way she showed me, because then you held it the wrong way. So what does that mean? On this particular side, I'm not folding it over away from me, but I will take it and I grab it this way and now turn this seam towards that seam. Right side on right side. I repeat in case if this was too fast for you. Here you can see my left side. We just had it together like this to check our actual width of the shoulder. So take it carefully, hold it well, turn these things away to be able to turn your shoulder seam on top of that shoulder seam. Hold it, don't let go of it, otherwise you might turn something wrong way around. Keep a hold on this end and straighten out this little bit of seam where your shoulder is. That's all it's necessary at the moment. You don't need to worry about anything else that's around, because you think, what a mess do I have here. Now make sure again you got your I'm still holding this, don't forget. Here is your seam from the shoulder. Here's your shoulder seam. Put them exactly on top of each other, because that is important, that both of your sides that you will be stitching will be correctly fitting together. And this, as it's only 1 or 2 centimeters I'm holding here, the rest doesn't bother at the moment. I'm taking this, putting it under the machine, and just do a little bit of sewing. So this is held. This is not going anywhere anymore. Now we got this little sleeve here, as you remember, where we put loads of either pleats or ruffles in, and that you have to put down nicely straight so you don't add any more pleaches or ruffles. You want to keep them as you prepared them yesterday on your shirt, on your top, on your dress, wherever you want this sleeve. Hold this down, take your lining carefully, put edge on edge, and in case if you have allowed 1 centimeter seam like I did, then stitch another 2, 3 or 4 centimeters to there. Now just make sure your needle is inside the material so it doesn't flip all over the place. Go and look for your side seam from the main material and from your lining, and again put those 2 seams on top of each other, and now look for your complete length to make sure this is going to fit. And exactly, you can see I got the right length here. That means all I have to do now is put carefully, bit by bit, edge on edge, and stitch along all the way to my side seam. If it is too difficult for you without any needles, pins in, then put some pins in, or however you like it. I just let go for the moment, because otherwise I can't show you correctly. I put this down again, as I know it fits. I put my lining exactly edge on edge with the main material, and I continue stitching along my sleeve hole. Again, I can check if I wish, if my side seams are still in the correct position. And again, hold on a moment, I gotta push the material away for you so you can see it. And I continue all the way down to my side seam to do this seam so far. Do it bit by bit, there is no rush. If you do it slowly, like I'm showing you here now, you will not have to open up any seam again, because you've done it correct to start with. So when I get to my side seam, I stop a moment, because now I have to grab in here, because this was getting a bit tight from me. Here you can see my fingers coming through here, because that's where we started stitching a moment ago. And that part I slowly pull through here now. Look, that's where I got it. Because here again is the seam where I just started sewing for you. So again, I'm checking my lengths, my widths from my arm. And you can see here, it looks as if I got a little bit of width in that material, but that's hardly nothing. And I can easily push this in now, because I am stitching on my lining. If I would be stitching on the main material, I would have no chance to get this width in correctly. So I keep on looking, keep on pushing all my parts in here to make sure I'm not getting no funny extra pleaches in anywhere. And continue my 1 centimeter seam all the way till I get to the top. This little bit of width that I had extra here, I'm just gonna hold in, and you can see the farther I get on, also you might have to pull a little bit more of your shoulder out where you started. You remember? Because here is our starting seam right there. And that's where I want to get to again. So take your time and go exactly in the groove of your seam where you started it. Now, we got to check. Did we make sure not to get any funny pleaches into our lining in, or is it really nice and flat? Therefore, I'm turning this part all the way around till I can see my proper side of my lining, which is now totally stitched in. You remember, this is my shoulder. That's why I started sewing on the shoulder, and I went all the way around in one go without stopping anywhere. And that is the way how you got to do this for an armhole sleeve. Now, believe it or not, that is already the whole thing I wanted to show you. That's how easy it is, because the main thing is that you start in the right position on the right side, which means always stitch on the lining part, never on your main material, and always start on the shoulder on the lining and go once all the way around. This might look difficult for you in the beginning, but you will find if you keep on pulling the part out as I showed you when I was about halfway through, then you will see, God, suddenly I got a straight seam and it's nothing difficult whatsoever. Look how nicely that lining is lying in there now. So now it's your choice. Do you want to, from the inside, just stitch along the lining as I did here on the neckline? As you can see, there's no stitching there. It's only the stitching inside on the lining because it holds it nicely firm down. Or do you only want to iron it? Or do you want to stitch all the way through? This is all your decision because it's your dress, it's your top, it's your tunica. Or do you say tunic? I don't even know what you call it in English. And then you have this gorgeous sleeve with a beautiful cleaned off sleeve hole for all your nice things you're going to be sewing. Well, everybody out there in this beautiful, small, big world, I wish you much success with the jobs you're doing, and I say goodbye for now. Until next time, see you around.